Hello, my student. In this video, we are going to review how to write an equation for a given graph. Let's begin. So in this graph, the first thing we have to determine is it a sine or a cosine graph. So we can see right here that the graph does just look at one period of the graph. So our five critical point would be y maximum, uh, y equals 0, y minimum, y equals 0, and y maximum. So these are our five critical points for every cosine graph. So this is only one complete cycle of the graph. So from these five critical point, we will able to determine the amplitude, which is half of the distance from the y minimum to the y maximum. So in this case, our amplitude is 4, and we also be able to determine the period of the graph, which is the length on the x-axis for one complete cycle. And again, one complete cycle will have the five critical points. So now we have the period is 2 pi. So the next step is that we are going to write the equation. Of course, I want to find A, B, C, and D. So let's start with A. This is a normal cosine, so our A will stay the same, so be 4. And to find B, we will take 2 pi divided by the period. So let's say 2 pi divided by 2 pi. So B, I want to make a quick note right here, 2 pi divided by 2 pi, so therefore B is 1. So when B is 1, so let's go ahead and find C. So to find C, we are looking at the first point in this period of the cosine graph. So the first point, you can see right here that it is 0, 4, which is the y-intercept. So this 0 tells us that the graph have no phase shift, so C have to be equal 0. And then to find D, we look at the midline, the line between the max and the mean, the y max and the mean. So in this case, the midline is the y equals 0, or the x axis. So in this case, y equals 0. So put D equals 0. So we substitute, then therefore we are done. So our final equation we will be y equal 4 cosine of x. Okay, now let's look at the next example. In this example, we go ahead and look at this graph. Now this graph will completely different than the previous graph. So this graph is a sine graph. Why? Because if you look at your five critical points, the first point is start at the point 0, 0. And it go to the y maximum is 3, and go to 0 again, y equals 0, and the y minimum is -3, and y equals 0. So you can see that these are our five critical points for the sine graph. Now we are going to find the value of A, B, C, and D for. So let's start with A first. So since our amplitude is half of the distance between y max and y min, so the amplitude is 3. And this is just a normal sine graph, so there's no reflection across the x-axis. So A is still 3. And then to find B, we will take 2 pi divided by the period. So the period of this graph is pi. So therefore, we say B is 2 pi divided by pi. So simplify, so B is 2. So therefore, we'll go ahead and put B 2, and then let's find C. So since we again look at the first point of the graph, so it is the point 0, 0. Look at so therefore it tells us that the graph have no phase shift, so C is 0. And D, we look at the midline, the line between the y minimum and the y maximum. So in this case, the midline, which is the same thing as y equals 0, or the x-axis, so D equals 0. So therefore, we can conclude that our equation will be 3